ladies, and welcome to The Beauty Shaman. So I love the 30s and 40s. It's one of my all-time favorite eras in world history. I also love the 15th century when Queen Elizabeth I reigned. I don't know, I know that's completely irrelevant, but I just thought I'd share it. Anyway, one of the most famous actresses from that era, and actually she acted until the 1980s, was Marlene Dietrich. So I really love her. She's a very classic goddess. She's known as the last goddess by many people because she was just so, fabulous and divine. And, she really worked the whole screen siren, the femme fatale. She really worked it to a huge degree, very successfully as well. Although I did read and hear from her daughter about her life story and how she ended up alone. And it's just so sad. I think some of these really famous people, they're great when they're famous, but then when they're not, they don't function as well. So in any case, I really loved her look. So today I wanted to do the Marlene Dietrich look. Now, it is a little tricky to do in modern times because she had those very thin eyebrows, very high arched eyebrows, and red lips because she did mostly black and white. If you look back, it was black and white silent films that she really made her mark. She also did some, of course, color and speaking roles and that sort of thing. But the red lips and the high arched eyebrows, that really works well in that black and white, very film noir kind of a feel. So we're going to take that and we're going to move it into modern day here. Obviously, I do not have thin eyebrows. I have pretty substantial eyebrows. So I'm just going to sort of teach what she did so you can do it depending on your look. So before we get started, please visit my website at thebeautyshaman.com and use the code SB10 for 10% off everything in my store. And also be sure to hit the subscribe button here and hit the bell so you can be alerted every time I upload a video. Let's get going. So before we get going, I want to show a picture of Marlene Dietrich just so you have a visual of what I'm talking about. So here it is. I got my screen fixed for those of you tired of my broken screen. But you can see her eyebrows. We're going to focus on 4 areas. Okay, the first is the eyebrow, then it's the eyes, then contour and highlight, and then those bow lips. So those are the main 4 areas I'm going to focus on here. So we're going to start with the eyebrows, but you can see how elevated they are, how high they come, and it really gives her this very wide-eyed sort of a look. And we can do that to a degree without actually tweezing my eyebrows and waxing them and, drawing it in. So we're going to do a modified version of that. But the wider the space you have here, the more sort of real estate you have, as well as the wider eye the look. So there are tricks to this, and she employs every single one of them. And we are going to use as many as possible here today. And you can see her heavily chiseled face. This is black and white, so they didn't really focus on, blush color and that sort of thing. But we can get that chiseled look. Many of you already have it because we're older and our faces naturally kind of go in. But we are going to bring that out a bit, okay? And of course, the very distinct bow lips, which is super trendy back then, super in style. Maybe today not so much, but we still can learn how to do it. So anyway, love this picture. That's Marlene Dietrich. That's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so always you start with fresh skin and be sure you're hydrated. I used a little Vital C by Image. I like this brand a lot. I talk about them a lot. There's a link always down below. If you click the See More button, there is all the links from what I used, okay? All right, so we're going to do a little bit of primer. We're going to buzz right through the basics here. This is Jane Iredale, Smooth Affair Primer. So now we're going to use foundation. I'm going to use the MAC Face and Body here. And for me, this is C3 that I use on myself, which they've changed their color. So I don't even know if they make that color anymore. I'm sorry. But this is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to use my fingers to put this on. They used a very heavy foundation back then because there wasn't 4K lighting, 4K cameras and beautiful lighting and that sort of thing. It was much harsher. So what that means is they could get away with a lot more. We can't get away with that today. Now I've just colored my hair again. So you see I've got these blotchy bits. I can't ever seem to color my hair with the right timing when I do videos. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of concealer. This is Amazing Concealer. And this is medium golden. And I'm just gonna apply a very small amount underneath my eye. That's probably too much. That's how small of an amount you need on a really good concealer. And I'm just gonna put it right in here. You really don't want to put it heavy out here or anything because it'll look really overly made up. I've got some puffy eyes today. I'm not sure why. I actually slept okay. I am going to put a tiny bit right here, just because I have some brown patches right there. Just lightly tap that in. You can see the difference. A little bit around my nose. And down the middle. Just to break it up. My nose ends up getting more sun than the rest of me. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of powder, and I'm just going to take a brush like this, just kind of a very loose brush, and use this only where I want to apply it. Sometimes I use a really big brush, but today I'm just going to kind of spot powder, because as we get older and you start using a lot of powder, it can definitely look overly made up. And if you have dry eyelids or crepey lids, I would not put powder on your eyelids. I can kind of get away with that sometimes. Oh, by the way, the powder I'm using is Ben Nye. This is Fair. It's not expensive and it's great. I use it on camera all the time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Marlene Dietrich's eyebrows because they are epic, right? They're really big. That's just the vision you have of her with this light coming right down right here, and she's looking up at the light like this. And, you know, that's Marlene Dietrich. It's always hands in the face. It's very dramatic, big eyebrow. Okay. We love it. But it's difficult to do with kind of normal eyebrows unless you have a Marlene Dietrich eyebrow or you want to tweeze your eyebrows into that shape or completely get rid of your eyebrow and just draw it in. So if you want to do that, go for it. Hats off. For me, I'm not going to. Just my face shape and my jawline, it really suits a thicker eyebrow. So what I'm going to explain is how she does it. All right, so normally you would start your eyebrow here and you would end it here. Right? Now I've got to fill mine in a tiny bit. But what she's done is she's taken this part right here and she's pulled it in slightly. So it gives her an even more open-eyed appearance. The more these come down, the more closed in your face gets. So she takes this line and she moves it over just a hair. It's barely noticeable. And then she takes this line over here and she basically takes that whole arch and raises it up. Right? So she starts it slightly over and she takes that sucker all the way up. And then she brings it down a little bit further than is normal. So her eyebrows have this very elongated look and they end, like mine end about where they begin right there, which is normal. Hers end, if you look at the entire arch, they're actually much longer, but they don't droop down because the more you pull it down, the more it pulls your eye down. So what I'm trying to say is she's made that arch really big and elongated so that that's why she has that kind of doe-eyed sort of a look to it. Okay, having said that, this is not a normal thing for everybody, for all of us. Okay, so I'm going to take an eyeshadow and a thin brush. You can also use a pencil. I've done whole videos on eyebrows. I will go ahead and put that in the corner here. And I'm just going to tap this into the powder, and it's just a slanted brush like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the uppermost, see I colored my hair, the uppermost line here. So I'm filling in that uppermost line and I'm just going to make it really soft. So I made a line and then I kind of soften it down. So I want a bit of a sharper brow because of what we're doing, but I still want it to be soft. And a lot of that has to do with being older, not wanting that super sharp look, okay, that so many people can get away with when they're younger because their features are softer. But as we get older, our features become more sharp, so we don't want to add to the sharpness. We want to dilute it, okay? And then if you want, you can fill in your brows how you choose to. I tend to leave this area pretty open. I have some holes in my brows, and I just ignore it because if I fill them in, I look like Groucho Marx. So I tend to just leave it and fill in the outer edge. And what that does is a similar trick to Marlene Dietrich is it pulls my eye out, which I appreciate. Okay, let's do the other one. Okay, now we're going to focus on her eyes, what she did on her eyes. So it's a very, very classic look that was very common back then. Marilyn Monroe, Greta Garbo, Katharine Hepburn all sort of really did this. This was the look, okay? It was that the big eyebrows, or the arched eyebrows, excuse me, and the liquid liner kind of, not really winged, we wing it now, but comes down with the false eyelashes and a heavier outer crease, okay? So it's actually pretty simple to do. The hard part really is the liquid liner and getting that outer crease correct. So to start off with, I'm going to do an eye base. So this is called Painterly by MAC. And it's an eye base, but you can also use it as a shadow. I use this to keep my eyeshadow on, kind of like a primer. I also like the color, kind of kills two birds with one stone. And it keeps my eyeshadow from creasing up. So all of that together works very well. So I'm going to kind of pull this up a bit because, again, I'm really milking that wide-eyed look that she has. So I'm taking that whole area and covering it. Okay, so I've done both eyes, and if you want, you can take your eye base or primer and just put it very small amount right underneath your lower lashes if your mascara tends to run on your lower lashes, and that can really keep it from doing that. So that's a little trick thrown in there. Okay, so this looks great. I am going to put a tiny bit of powder on this because it is a bit creamy and it does dry, but I want to be sure that my eyeshadow doesn't smudge. So I'm just going to lightly powder it. Again, this is a harder thing. Sometimes this can come out cakey. You don't want cakey eyeshadow, so do what works for you and your eyelids. I've done a whole video on what to do about cakey, not cakey, but crinkly eyelids. So I will put that in the upper corner. All right, I'm going to start with the liner. So I'm going to do a liquid liner by MAC. This is called Black Track. I don't even think you can see that, can you? Anyway, it's called Black Track. And I'm going to use a brush like that. And I'm going to just paint it on. Now, if you have a liquid liner that is in a pen form, that works great. Because I'm professional, I don't have those. I have to use brushes and stick with things that are super, super sanitary, which is why I use little brushies like this. All right, so I'm going to make the line closest to my tear duct the thinnest, and then we're going to thicken it up as we go. Okay, so I've done both eyes. Now I'm going to take from the palette that I'm going to use pretty much throughout the whole video, and that is this palette. It's called Daytime by Jane Iredale, and there's a black right here that I'm going to use. Okay, it's kind of a charcoal black. It's not like a true black, but I think that's fine for what we're doing. And I'm going to take my slanted brush again that I used for my eyebrows, same brush, and I'm just going to tap it in, and that just takes out any holes or, when you don't get it perfect. It is very hard to get liquid eyeliner perfect. So then if I just run this over the top, gets rid of all that. Okay, so eyeliner is on, and now we're going to move to that crease area right in here. And I'm going to use this color right here. This kind of a pinky, it's not pink, it's beige, to start off with. And then to darken it, if I want to, I might go into the warm brown, but we'll see how I go. Because we're using red lipstick today in true Marlene Dietrich fashion, I am sticking pretty much with warm tones on my eyes, okay? So let's get a little bit of that product, and I'm using this brush, which is got a little bit of a tip to it there. Great for your crease. And I'm going to start in the outer edge. We're going to just work our way with that, because we're really trying to have that very kind of cut. In other words, it's a big distinction between my lid and that crease right there. I think that looks really pretty. I think I am going to add a little bit more of a darker color just to give it even more depth. The darker you go, the more depth you're going to have with your eye. So I'm just taking that dark brown that's in this palette, and I'm just putting it right in there. And I am going to take it all the way down. Now, if this isn't too much area right here, like if you don't have a lot of space right here, I wouldn't take it all the way across because it'll look a little overdone. But mainly we're focusing on this outer edge, which is what she does for her femme fatale kind of look to it. Okay, so next on our list is the false lashes. We've done the eyebrows and the very dramatic eyes that are making our eyes really open. And one of the other tricks to make your eyes really open is to use false lashes. Now, false lashes as a strip, like all the way across, is very beautiful and very dramatic. And I've done a lot of videos on that. However, one of the tricks that she used, which a lot of you might know about, is you cut the lashes in half so that you only have half a lash. And then you just add that to the outer edge. And what that does is it pulls your eye up even more, which is just so delicious and fabulous, right? So I'm going to do that to both my eyes, and then I'm going to put some mascara on just to blend it all together. Okay, so now that that top line is done and the crease is done, I'm going to take a liner here, and this is called Naked Liner. It's called Naked Liner, and it's just a flesh-colored liner. And this is a trick that she used, although she used white underneath. And there's some glue. If you use a white pencil, which I have one, underneath, that will really pop your eyes. That's great for black and white. It's great for really dramatic settings. What I'm going to use is not white. This is sort of an off-white, a cream color, so it's not as dramatic. I think it's better for every day. And we're just going to use this on the waterline, especially on that outer edge, because that opens up that outer edge even more. All right, so next we're going to do a little bit of contour. So contour is the other area. So we did eyebrow, eye, now we're doing contour and highlight. This is a huge area for this kind of a look. So I'm going to use this color right here. This is by RCMA. It's a cream contour. You can also use a powder. I am going to use a cream on this, and I'm going to use my fingers, and I'm just going to put it underneath my cheekbone, right where my age spot is there. Now, if you have a round face, this is like a miracle right here to do this kind of a thing. If you have, like I do, a more angular face, you got to be careful not to overdo it because you look kind of like Cruella de Vil, right? It's just too much. So I'm just going slightly under, and you can see what that does. Just gives me even more chiseled features. I can also use it under here, which, you know, as we get older, this starts to kind of droop. So this is a fun trick to just put underneath right here and just to blend it. It's barely noticeable, but it does make a difference. See? And I still see a little bit of a droop here, so I'm just going to put that right there. These are just minuscule things that make a big difference. And then if you have a big forehead, now obviously I've just colored my hair, so you see all my discoloration here, but if you take this and you put it right up in here, it adds a lovely shading so that your face isn't as flat, because foundation just flattens you out, right? So we're looking at ways to not flatten our face. All right, I'm going to do the other side. If you want to contour your nose, I'm saying for the most part she probably did, is we're going to take that same color and we're going to just go right down the sides here. Now I have a pretty okay nose, so I'm not worried about contouring this too terribly, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So I dip my brush, and it's just like a regular kind of flathead brush here, into the contour and bring it down. Just be careful you don't go too heavy-handed, otherwise it looks like dirt. And then I just tap it using my fingers, or if you have a sponge, that works too, just to tap that line in so it doesn't look so noticeable. Just want to get rid of that line. But it gives it, see how much that shaped my nose? That's something that I'm pretty sure most of these movie stars took advantage of. All right, now we're going to do a little bit of highlight. So this is Touche Éclat Yves Saint Laurent highlight, my favorite highlight. I'm going to put a little bit on my hand because this is in my kit and I can't use it directly on my skin. And I'm going to use that same ring finger, and I'm going to do this just on my nose. That's where you get that very chiseled nose, right, with that very highlighted center and the contour at the side. We're going to put a little bit up in here just to raise those brows up even more. It's all about the brows. You can even take and put this above your brow. Again, same idea, just to raise it up. And I'm also going to put a little bit of this right here. And that just helps to clean out this area around your eye, brighten it up even more. These are like Hollywood tricks, you know, to really bring out your inner movie star. And you can put a little bit of it right on your cheekbone, up on your brow bone. Really frames those eyes, as you can see. Really nice. All right, so let's do lips, and then I'm going to do a little tiny bit of blush afterwards, just because, you know, this is modern day, this is color, we want to have a little bit of color. I'm going to use a red lipstick by Jane Iredale called Megan. This is one of my all-time favorite lipsticks. I just love this lipstick. It's so wonderful. Look at that. It's just beautiful. So I'm going to use this along with a red lip liner by Lip Bar it's called Valentine, this lip liner. So I'm going to do lip liner first, just so normally I wouldn't. Normally I would do lipstick and then lip liner, just because it's easier to apply the liner and it's not as strong of a line. But because we're doing Marlene Dietrich, we're going to do the opposite, because she had very, very distinctly lined lips. So she had this great bow right here, right? So we're going to start with the bow. Now, I don't have a huge bow. I'm going to accentuate it a bit. Then we're going to go underneath. Do the very bottom of your lip. Okay? Then I'm going to go the outer edges. I'm going to fill that in a bit. Makes the lips look bigger and more succulent to do this. And then you connect the dots. Okay, next I'm going to take my lipstick Megan by Jane Iredale. Okay, last but not least, I am going to put a little bit of color. Otherwise, I look like total film noir right now. We're going to use the color Sincere by MAC. So it's a warm color because lip red is a warm shade. So I'm just going to add this right on my cheekbones. You can put blush through here, you know, and pull it up, or you can just do it on your cheekbones. Just depends on your face, on what you like. But I think a little bit of this warm color is really good. I'm going to pull it into my brows just a bit. Okay, this is my Marlene Dietrich Film Noir Femme Fatale look. I hope you've enjoyed this look. Please give it a go at home and let me know what you think. Please write down below. I always love to hear from you. I really enjoy doing these movie star makeups. They're just so much fun, and we don't get to dress up like this very often, so it's very much playtime, and I really enjoy that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day.